Hey, what's going on, everybody? Henry Kaminski here from the Passionpreneur Inner Circle, and we have another live video podcast today, episode number 35 by Jersey's very own Chris Perilli from the Pixel Mob. Chris, big shout out to you. Thank you for being on today's show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. I always preface this. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York City.
I can tell by the accent.
Yeah, everybody says that, calls me out, pins me for New York immediately. Living in New Jersey, but thank you for having me on the show. I'm really excited to talk about video.
Listen, yeah, we've been friends now for a while, and ironically, we did work together like years ago. And it's so funny, and now we cross paths once again.
Yes, sir.
And it's amazing, but you are a genius when it comes to video. And I want to address this. Let me just I just want to make sure my screen is legit. Yeah, looking good. And so tell the audience a little bit about who you are, what you do, and why people should be paying attention to you.
Okay, so my name is Christopher Perilli. I'm the owner of Pixel Mob. If you don't know what Pixel Mob is, we've created some of the biggest launches in the fitness industry. We worked with people like Patrick Beath, Mike Boyle, Joe DeFranco. I had the honor and opportunity to currently work with Tim Ferriss. And we did all the billboards for his Tools of Titans book launch. I've been doing graphics and videos for him for the past 2 years. And it's been really an amazing journey these days. And video right now is the most powerful thing that any business can utilize to bring their brand to life and connect with their audience.
Yeah, it's the truth. It's
Absolutely.
true.
At the end of the day, like if you think about it, right? Video, motion picture is like making magic. Now, I like to take this because I come from a design background. Originally, I went to school for design. I learned all of the video stuff along the way. I was always, before design, I was into music. So video allows you to mix stuff in the medium where all of your senses can be touched on. For instance, like music, spoken word, a message, emotion, auditory. You can use visuals, and you bring this cacophony together of senses to make an emotional impact that connects with your audience better than, I believe, anything really else that's out there currently.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I'll be honest with you, when I sat down with my accountant at the end of last year and we went over the books and we saw that my business increased by 40% last year, video was a big contribution to that. And I just gotten very savvy with it. I've studied storytelling. I've studied a lot of peripheral things to help me craft a better video experience, not only for me, but for my audience. And so as a video expert, you've been doing this for how many, 10 years now?
10 years now.
Yeah, same as me. So it's like, how do you get to where you're at? It takes time. It takes patience, right? So for those that are just starting out with video, right, and they're scared to turn this thing on, point it at themselves and say, okay, let's do this. What are some things that they struggle with, and how can they overcome that, quickly?
Yeah, so it's funny because a lot of people come up to me, and I coach people too and business owners to make better videos. And one of the things that keeps reoccurring all the time, the questions that keep coming up, and the struggles and the sticking points, is always people are focused often. They're hyper focused on things like, well, what kind of equipment do I need? What program should I use? And taking best of advice I could give them is take a step back for a second. Okay. You said something in what you were just saying, which hits the nail on the head. And that is the key to this whole thing. Emotion is the vein that runs through all of good all of great video that really captures an audience, video that really connects to the audience. There's an emotional vein. Whatever message you have in your brand, there's an emotion behind that. If you take Nike, for instance, the emotion behind, Nike is just do it, whatever, in terms of, getting out there with fitness, but the emotion behind it is triumph and victory. And if you notice, none of their videos really try to sell you on the sneakers. They try to sell you on being a better you. And that is something that is often overlooked. So my advice to people who are getting into the video game is to take a step back. Look at what you're really selling. People think, like, for instance, in my coaching group, they think that I'm selling, how to create video courses. And the truth is, I'm really selling freedom. Freedom to have the life that you want by creating courses and impacting people so you really have to take a step back first and look at things from, like you said, the peripheral of it. And like, what is it that you're really selling? What is the emotion behind that you're trying to convey? And go from there, because I find a lot of videos out there, and one of the things that your video does really, really good is it talks about a story. It's not just, hey, I have this program and I think that you're going to like it and you're going to buy it and you're going to do X, Y, and Z. It's not about that. It's about connecting an emotion through a story to the result that the person is going to get, right? And I think that so many business owners, they kind of overlook all that stuff and they go straight to the, okay, you know what? I'm going to get my Ferrari gloves. I'm going to get my Ferrari jacket, but I really don't even know how to drive a car yet. Yeah. So that's the problem. I think the first step is to be crystal clear and figure out exactly what it is that the message that you have to your audience is, and what is the emotion behind that. And once you know the emotion, everything really falls into place.
Yeah. And again, I stress this all the time. Before you turn that camera on and hit record, to piggyback off of what you just said, before you even speak, you need to know what to speak about. Exactly. And I get a lot of clients coming to me and people following me on social going, well, I would do it if I knew what to talk about, right? Well, who do you want to serve? Who's your target audience? Well, I haven't really thought about that in detail. Well, that's the big mistake. It's like putting the cart before the horse. Right. So before you spend thousands on a video or even try it with your phone, figure out what the hot buttons are that your target audience is facing or dealing with. What are their challenges? What keeps them up at night? And there's an awesome site out there called answertopublic.com. You type in a keyword or a key phrase, and it will scour the internet with all questions that people have typed into the Google. And now you have literally hundreds of topics of conversation that you can shed your perspective on. So again, doing your homework on your audience and getting clear with who it is that you want to serve will give you enough content to speak for days. So excellent point, Chris. Now, for those that want to just jump out there and spend the couple grand on the camera and the lights and all of that, is that necessary?
At this point, no. So I'm going to go. So going off of what we just talked about, the world that we live in, the time that we live in right now, makes it that everybody walks around with a phone in their pocket. So you are able, and now technology has made it so that the phones have gotten to the point where they're so good they rival DSLRs. So you don't need to go and buy a $2,000 camera. You pretty much have a $1,000 camera in your pocket at all times. Now that's a blessing and a curse. And a blessing and a curse for the same reasons of, okay, so the blessing is now you have the ability to shoot any video. But the curse is now people kind of get lazy because they have this device and they can go on at any point they want and just talk at the camera without doing the actual footwork of making good videos. Like anything, it doesn't matter if it's if you're designing, if you're writing copy, if you're making a video, or you're making a song, you need to have lyrics, you need to have a blueprint to what you're doing. So without that blueprint, everything kind of then goes off the cuff. Now I don't want to say that off the cuff videos are bad, because some people are really great at freestyling and going off the cuff. They have an idea, but those people are often the people who have already put the time in to understand their market and their audience so well that they resonate with them so well that they can literally come up with a story at the drop of a dime. And storytelling is the key to great videos. So when you know your audience, you could come up with a story pretty much every day of your life. There's new stories. Like you go to Starbucks and you see something and you can somehow pivot that to your product, business, or service in a story format. So you don't necessarily need a big amount of equipment. I would say if you're going to go out there and get anything, get a few small lights, get a good microphone. You always want a good microphone because the sound is very important. People, they say this, that people will watch okay video, but they really don't want to listen to bad sound. And so that's a big part of it. But the iPhone has like revolution, or the mobile phone has like changed the game so much. Like you could walk around, and now there's pieces of equipment that you could pop your phone into that make it a legit camera. I've done shoots with, I have a cinema camera that's $6,000 and the whole kit winds up to be $10,000 next to an iPhone with a little pop-in piece of equipment, and I'm using it as a B camera. I've even shot stuff, whole entire videos with just the iPhone, and they look phenomenal. So you really don't need much, but you do need to do the footwork behind it, and you do need to have the basic and the foundation of what you're doing first before you just start trying to drive the Ferrari without having a permit, you know?
Yeah, smart. So let's go in, let's dive a little deeper into the conversation, and let's talk about engagement for a second, because I think this is one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle that people overlook, because everybody loves to hear themselves talk, including myself. Forgive me. Engagement is what gets people to connect, and engagement is what gets people to buy. Right. So in your opinion, how does one create an engaging video? What are some elements of an engaging video that will help people connect their brands to their target audience?
Okay, so going back to what we initially talked about, the most important part of all videos is to understand what your client is seeking and what your audience is seeking and looking for, and then engage them in a way that's emotional. You have to bring up some sort of emotion. It doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be a happy emotion, a sad emotion. It could be anger, it could be frustration, whatever the emotion is that you're trying to connect with them, that it needs to be the vein that runs through your video. To give you an example, like going back to your video, there is an emotion behind the whole video as you're watching it, to show how like you were struggling and then you got through this epiphany and then you came to this place and everything has changed through that. And you're showing this transformation through an emotion. That emotion is the most important thing that you can possibly have in your videos. So the way to do that is figuring out what you're going to say and the way that you're going to bring across emotion. Now, you could do that in so many different ways. You could actually speak it. You could voice it over. Or one of the things that we really love to do, and we pride ourselves at Pixel Mob from when we first started this business, we always did sales trailers completely different than everybody else. And the launches that we've done have sold $500,000 in a week, 2 weeks time. So we've done this time and time again for clients and customers. And everybody who watches our videos says the same thing. Man, I'm so pumped to go and get this product. I want to go train right now. And for our industry, because we were doing it for the fitness industry, that was the goal. That's the emotion. You want to get people inspired and pumped up to get things done. So when we started doing these videos, we never really said, okay, let's not just do the old-fashioned sales pitch video where we're going to sit here and talk about a script. Not saying that those don't have their place, because they do, and I've used them in my own sales funnels and they work really good. But for cold traffic's sake, nobody who knows who you are, nobody really understands what the product is, to hit an emotional chord is the most powerful thing that you can do. So we started putting together videos that were like action footage, and one of the things that I always look for when we are shooting video, and you can use this for your own videos too, whatever it is, say for instance you are somebody who is changing people's lives through physical therapy, you look to film emotional stuff. Emotions run, and you can show that emotion through a facial expression, through sweat on somebody's brow. There's so many different ways to show the emotion that's behind what it is that you're trying to do. So for a long time, we always put together these emotional videos, and they've done so incredibly well. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is to look at the video that we need to shoot, look at the message we're trying to bring across, and then figure out a way to make it super emotional. You can do that with action footage. You could do that with what you're saying. You could do it with a combination, like you did in your video, with a combination of B-roll, action footage, and the message that's being brought to the forefront. Because if you watch a video, you have talking points, and then you have action footage that kind of supports the story visually. And that's something that everybody could do. And it's really not hard to do. You could just, like, for instance, if you have, I'll give you an example, a kettlebell class. You shoot somebody telling a testimonial about how the transformation of their life has happened in your program. And then you literally shoot them at a class doing kettlebells, people clapping hands, camaraderie, people hugging it out at the end, family orientation, hard work, elation, people raising their hands in victory. And you put that together in a storyline in your video, and you utilize both action footage and the story and the message to tell an emotional story in your videos.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and one of the key things that I found to be extremely engaging was being vulnerable with the viewer, not being afraid to let down my guard, for lack of better words, and share the inside, the raw parts of a day in the life of Henry Kaminski at Unique Designz. And when you open up that door, last year I was at an event with Marcus Lemonis, and he talked to all of us about how vulnerability is the key to getting people to connect with you emotionally. And, not a lot of people like to speak about their failures, but everybody loves to hear about them. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, right? Absolutely. So, I'm not afraid to talk about how I fell down and scraped my knee, in entrepreneurship. When I first started designing funnels, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was out there anyway doing it and getting my feet wet and making all the mistakes in the world and having people complain about me. I get it, right? But had that not happened, it wouldn't have made me a better designer when it comes to building funnels and stuff like that. So sharing that, people would hide that for decades, right? Probably not even tell their grandchildren about that. But I'm out here saying it because it was real. Right? And if you're going to get good at something, you got to fall down. You got to suck. Absolutely. Or else it's not going to it's not going to work. And sharing those experiences, just doing these video podcasts with you guys live has opened up a lot of opportunity and a lot of people to think, crap, why can't I do this? This looks like something that I can do, right? And then you get out there and you just do it and you give, and then it just comes back around. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I get so many compliments from that video that you're speaking of on my website, and it's funny where people connect with that video. And I talk about in the video where I almost lost the business. I didn't lose the business, but I lost two of my biggest clients due to Hurricane Sandy. And it was crazy. One of my clients to this day came in because they watched that video and they said, I almost lost my business during Hurricane Sandy too.
Connection.
Boom. Did I talk about that because I knew that this guy was going to connect with that? No. But it was a part of the story that somebody resonated with. So you're never going to know exactly what somebody's going to resonate with. And that's why I always tell my clients is you got to just put it out there. And once you do that and you become raw and authentic, it's game over. You know, people are just going to like you for you, and you're going to get that client, and that client's going to be a forever client because the client resonated with you on that level. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but the deeper you can connect with somebody emotionally, the better the client.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like to touch on what we were just talking about here, right? So I created this free guide, and I'd love to be able to put the link somewhere below. And in the very first paragraph, it talks about you need to be the real you, not the you that you think people want to hear about, not the you that you think your market wants to hear, but the real you. When you shut the cameras off, how do you act in your house? That's how you should be acting outside. Because we live in a world, like our conversation offline was, where everything seems to be, especially in social media, a very plastic, fake world where people will only let you see so much. And we are longing with this digital age, and it's crazy because we have connections. Like I have friends across the ocean in the UK, but we are longing for real connection with real people because of the fact that there is so much plasticness out there. So the more that you can actually show that you're a real person, that you make mistakes, you make typos sometimes, you curse word, you drop some F-bombs every so often, that you're a real person, you know, that you go through frustrations and struggles just like everybody else, that will be probably what I believe to be the most powerful thing that you can do in starting creating videos. It all starts there. If you can't be yourself, that's the stuff you need to work on. You need to work on that stuff because it's that stuff. Like, for instance, I try to share this as much as possible with people. I worked on Wall Street for 9 years until 9/11. We were three blocks away from the Trade Center. My wife actually worked in Tower 1, and she got let go a month before. She got laid off a month before, thank God. And that situation changed my life. I was going to stay in finance my entire life until that happened. And I literally said, that's it. I'm done. I want to change. I want to pursue creative, because I've been a creative my entire life. I've been drawing since a little kid. I want to pursue that. And there was we got to the brink of bankruptcy twice in that time. There was times that I've had friends that could go places that, and bachelor parties I couldn't go to because I literally could not afford. I couldn't even afford rent at that point, you know. So but most people shy away from that stuff. I try to bare my soul because I want not to tell people like to brag, and I'm sure that you're in the same situation. You want to show like, look, if I could do it, other people could do it. Yeah. You know, and that's really what the basis of marketing is. You're in some way, shape, or form selling better or selling hope. And if you can make people inspired by that, I think, and you can do that with videos so well that you will be able to have clients forever and a constant influx in a stream of clients. And it's really not that hard. It's just a matter of kind of getting out of your own way and putting your ego aside for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, when I screw up on video, I laugh, I chuckle, and I just keep it moving. And there's one thing that Oprah Winfrey said in a video that I was watching the one day when I was, you know, as I'm studying video and studying interviewing and studying all this stuff. She said, there's no such thing as embarrassment for me, you know, and she said, it's just not even in my vocabulary. It's not even in my nervous system. When something happens and it's embarrassing for the average person, I look at it as an oops.
Yeah.
And I continue full steam ahead. And I just want to touch on something that you just mentioned that you make sense that resonated with me. Exactly. So it's like you talked about in the videos, you're delivering better. You're delivering, you know, that emotion, right? And one of the things that I found out recently with what I'm selling in my business is confidence.
Right.
And people will buy your confidence before they buy your product or service. People will buy your confidence before they buy your product or service. It's that, I forget what the law, it's some law or whatever, right? Where if you're in a room with a whole bunch of confident people, you will become confident. If you're in a room with a bunch of people that don't know if they're coming or going, eventually you will not know if you're coming or going. Right. And that's why I say you get around confident people, because you want to be led. You want to feel that confidence inside of you. And there's no better way to do it than to get better with video and showcase that confidence through it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the more senses you can touch and you can influence, the deeper that connection is going to be. And that's when you're going to get an influx of interest and attention from your audience. And that's what's going to separate you from your competition. And I just feel like the market, or the entrepreneur, that small business owner, they don't have much time left to get on this video wave and start laying the pipe now. Because I say within a year, you're going to see big brands like Toyota. They're already doing it.
They're already doing it.
They're already doing it.
Facebook ads are already starting to get more and more expensive because everybody's getting it.
And if you're not creating that personal touch, you're going to be in for a rude awakening soon. And it's going to be scary, because it's going to weed out a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And only the strong are going to survive. I mean, I'm not trying to rattle people's cages here, but I am. I mean, now that I think about it, I am, because it's people think that the time is infinite.
Yeah, it's not. We're all
every day it's changing. Every day it's changing. What worked last week may not work this week.
Absolutely, especially online. Just touch on, give one last tip about this whole thing to kind of bring it home. So going back, I was never a natural born speaker. Public speaking was one of my biggest fears. I cringed at it. And making videos for myself, I was always good on this side of the camera, right? So I was like, okay, action, great, good. It was awesome, and you rocked it. But whenever I had to get to that side of the camera, it is a little daunting, and it is a little, it's a little frustrating and a little scary sometimes to look at this little inanimate object that you have to stare at and pretend it's a person. So there's a couple of tips I want to give people that will help you get out there. First and foremost, after you understand exactly who you're going to speak to and what you're saying, focus on the people you are serving, because it's really easy to get stuck in the self-judgment aspect of it. Looking at first off, you're going to hear yourself, and you don't sound the way you sound to yourself in your head when you play it back on video. So you got to get over that part. Then you're going to probably pick apart the way you look. That's just the natural, it's a natural progression. Everybody I know that's ever been on video does it. Even the people that I actually film for clients, they'll look and be like, oh man, what, there's wrinkles coming in, whatever. Forget about all that stuff. You have a message and you're trying to help people, and you have something that's unique. You have a certain skill or a product or service or business that is infinitely unique to yourself. So you're serving people. Focus on the serving of others, all of that. So I speak a lot now on stage, which was never something that I ever would think that I would ever do. But maybe like a little bit longer than that, probably about 4 years ago, I was on stage, and right before I got up, my mentor, John Spencer Ellis, he came over to me, he patted me in the stomach, and he said, focus on them. And he hit me on the stomach, and literally, as I walked up to the stage, all of my stress went away, and I crushed it. I rocked that speaking engagement, and from there on, I realized it's not that hard. Now, the other thing with videos is I'm going to tell everybody who wants to make videos, especially if you're making videos of yourself talking. The key to this whole thing is, if you're a fighter, if you're playing guitar, if you're riding a bike, what do you got to do every day? Practice. So make videos every day. That doesn't mean you have to publish the videos. make the videos, look at them, see where you're getting tripped up, see where you kind of feel like the confidence isn't quite there. Show it to people that you really trust, who aren't going to like critique you too much. And I have a repository of videos that one day I'll release them. But right now, like I have so many videos that I've shot over the course of a few years that just were no good. But the more you do it, like Garrett talks about it too, and Russell, you're going to suck. And then you're going to suck a little bit less. And then eventually you're going to start to get good. And it's like anything else. You have to just practice. So every day, a little exercise I try to give my coaching clients is every day create one video, 5 minutes long, every day for a month. And in that month's time, you will be like completely surprised at how much you grow in 1 month if you do that consistently every day.
Yeah, it's the truth. Chris, I can talk to you for hours about this shit, man. I appreciate you coming on. We got to wrap this. We got to wrap this up. A lot of great value. I hope our audience got some great value out of this. I challenge all of you that are watching this to take action on some of this stuff that we're talking about today and actually do it. You can watch this video 50 times over and over and over again, but if you don't do any of the things that we're talking about, you're still going to suck. So go ahead, get out there and do it. And again, Chris, I appreciate you for coming and sharing your wisdom and sharing your knowledge with our audience today. And guys, this is episode number 35 in the books from the Passionpreneur Inner Circle. My name's Henry Kaminski Jr., and I will catch you on the next episode. See you later, guys.
Thank you.
Just turn this off. Bing, bing.